Hey everybody, welcome to the unit circle tutorial. Let's just get started on this beast. So here we have the unit circle. It has a diameter of 2 and it spans 1 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis, -1 on the x-axis and -1 on the y-axis. So it's just a circle, and we're just going to go through all of these components and try to get you guys to understand them. So first, we're going to go over sort of the coordinate points that the circle hits as it's making its way. So we'll start off with these numbers here. So as you'll see, there's sort of a fraction happening with this, where it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's all over 2. It's always all over 2. If you want to look around here, you can see that all the fractions are over 2 when it comes to the coordinates, and it's just what's on top that changes. So looking at this first quadrant here, we can see that it's radical 3 and then 1, radical 2 and radical 2 again, and 1 and radical 3. So again, as you can see, they're sort of switching around. So you have 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1. And if it's not 1, then it is always a radical. So then we're moving on to the second quadrant. Now, since we're on the left side of the y-axis, we are going to have a negative x-coordinates. So we have -1/2, negative radical 2 over 2, and negative radical 3 over 2. And then since we're sort of doing the reverse order back up, we have 1 over 2, radical 2 over 2, and then radical 3 over 2. Of course, the y coordinates are not negative because they are above the x-axis. And then down here, we have -1, 0. That's just because that's where the circle hits as it approaches the x-axis. And then up here, I forgot to mention, we have 0, 1, which is where the circle hits when it reaches the top of the y-axis. And then over here at the very beginning, we have 1, 0, where the circle begins. Moving on to the third quadrant, we essentially have the same whole set of fractions, except now both sides are negative. So you have negative radical 3 over 2 and -1 over 2, so on and so forth. And then over here we have 0 and -1, just because it reaches the bottom part of the y-axis. Now moving on to the last quadrant here, the fourth quadrant, we have, again, just the same fractions. And now, again, they're still like switching about and everything, except now the y-coordinates are negative. So we have radical 3 over 2, and then -1 over 2, and then so on and so forth. So those are our points on this unit circle. Quite a lot of them, but there's just that really simple way to remember, where it goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, starting at the top, and then going back at the bottom. And now we will go over and look at these sort of ways to remember where at least the x and y coordinates are for the outermost sort of coordinates when you're in the different quadrants are. So what I mean by that is that you have 1/2 here and then 1/2 here. So literally it just means obviously that 1/2 here as the x-coordinate means that it's reaching 1/2 of the way to 1 on the x-axis. 1/2 here means that it's reaching half of the way to 1 on the y-axis. So that's the way to just simply remember at least what your x-coordinate here is for the top of your circle, and the y-coordinate here is for the rightmost side of your circle. And it's going to be the same everywhere. Again, you just have to take into account that different quadrants have different either positive or negative signs. Now we're going to go over all of the different pi values that we have here on the unit circle. So basically what one unit circle equates to is 2 pi as you're going around. So we start off here at 2 pi, or if we want to just refer to it as the start, it is 0, because we don't have anything yet. And as we're going up and to the left, we have pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. And that's just because we're getting closer to 1 pi over here and closer to a full 2 pi. Then once we get to the top here, since we're halfway now to a 1 full pi, we are pi over 2. And then continuing from there, we have 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 4, and 5 pi over 6. And then soon we would get 6 pi over 6, or just pi. And then continuing from there, in the third quadrant, we have 7 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, and 4 pi over 3. And then we would eventually get to 3 pi over 2. So now we're essentially at 1.5 pi, almost at 2 pi. And we have 5 pi over 3, 7 pi over 4, and 11 pi over 6. And then finally we arrive at 12 pi over 6 or 2 pi. And that is our full unit circle in terms of sort of the distance that is created by the coordinates going from the origin to the coordinate itself. So then we have to just focus on the angles that are created by all of these different lines. We are making a full 360-degree circle, so we sort of start off at this first section being at 30 degrees, and then we add 15 to go to 45 to this next part, pi over 4, and add another 15 degrees to go to pi over 3, and so 60 degrees, and then we add 30 again. So you add 30, 15, 15, 30. 30, 15, 15, 30. 30, 15, 15, 30, 30, 15, 15, 30. Eventually you end up at 360 degrees on the unit circle. And those are all of the components on this monstrosity. So I hope you are able to sort of visualize it now, at least in an easier way. And that is all for the unit circle. Thank you.